boy's back. The Bean, the one and only mother. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to episode 2. My boy's currently working out some things, so he left me by myself, my lonesome. So I'm going to be doing this for a little bit, but I got some new equipment so I can upload faster and edit faster and all that stuff, all this old stuff that I am no longer using. Oh, it's a good day. There we go. Okay, because I was listening to the old video and the audio is kind of low, so I'm gonna try to do better this time because I don't know when I find audio that's low, like it was kind of boring, you know. I mean, and because what I literally did was just read through law in a very, I don't know, reading manner. I don't know what I was saying, but anyways, the controversy continues. Let's see here. WokeACola and Delta Airlines, I believe it was, both voiced their displeasure with the Georgia voting bill. Okay, and I don't know, they're ridiculous. I mean, you're gonna go around voicing your displeasure as a corporation about a Georgia Senate bill, or sorry, a Georgia bill that you claim is voter suppression based on what? Joe Biden saying it's going to make Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle, which I swear to God, I thought it was a political reference that I had no idea about, because I honestly, I mean, my scope of politics ranges back like 3 years. Like, that's about it. So I was like, oh my God, Jim Eagle. Who's Jim Eagle? So I went back and I couldn't find any references about Jim Eagle.
So I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
So, yeah, I don't know what he was talking about, but yeah, apparently Jim Eagle. But I explained it in the last video. It's boring. Look, the hold on. You know what? Let me get my coffee real quick. I just left my coffee out. Hold on. Okay, that's a lot better. Where was I? Yeah, Jim Eagle. Okay, so I didn't understand the reference, but anyways, explaining the voter bill basically, and I read through the actual bill. Like, I read through about 70 pages of it to find what, the most controversial points, when they were saying, "Oh, you want people to starve in line? You're not gonna give them water or food? It's voter suppression." No. Okay. It basically says you're not allowed to give gifts in the form of money, food, or drink within 150 feet of the polling place. So if they're, 151 foot, I guess you could give them a water bottle with a Biden 2020 label on it. Also that poll workers will be able to give you food and drink, and you'd be able to bring food and drink to wait. Like a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you could bring food, or the poll workers can give you drinks. Like, it's just nobody's allowed to try to bribe you. Hey, Trump 2020 water bottle boy, you want it? Yeah. Okay, you're not allowed to do that. What's the other one? That was the food one, food and drink, and then there was closing at 5. Oh, they're gonna close at 5. Well, on the early voting days, they're open from like 7 to 7 or 9 to 5, depending on the district. But they're also making it mandatory to open up on Saturdays from 9 to 5. So you're also getting that extra day for the people who can't make it during the work week. But I mean, I take off work to go vote, so, and I'm prepared to wait 8 hours in line if I got to. So yeah, and then what was the other thing? Okay, so we got the work days, the no food or drink. Oh, the drop boxes, I think they made a big deal about as well. Basically, they were just saying that to ensure that the drop boxes weren't tampered with or stuffed with ballots or taken or had or broken into or anything. They weren't leaving the drop boxes out 24/7. That they would leave them out for like business hours. You could come by, drop it off real quick, and take off. And then after business hours was over, they'd take the drop box, put it in a secure location. I mean, that seems like pretty decent security measures. I mean, I don't know. That just sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, unless you can think of a different reason or objection. Anyway, so WokeACola is upset and Delta is upset. They have gone woke. I mean, they've caved to the cultural pressure that comes from political, what's it called? It's the same thing like with the senators or whatever who wrote a letter and sent it to like the heads of all the big tech agencies. Say, what are you gonna do about hate speech and misinformation? You gonna delete that? You gonna delete that? We might just have to regulate you a little bit, you know? It's basically like outsourcing a tyranny. So like the corporations will do this stuff ahead of time to avoid lawsuits or to avoid regulations against themselves. Because here's the thing is companies are more afraid of bad publicity than they are of hurting their bottom line. So, WokeACola will have struggle sessions, diversity meetings, telling white people, you need to be less white. You, take that blonde hair, dye it black. I don't know. I don't know what the training is. It's stupid. Like imagine, flip it. Someone told me you need to be less brown. What is less brown? It's a color. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Anyways, they're doing it to say, to avoid basically lawsuits and pressure. Because if they do that and say someone, misbehaves or, behaves badly, then they say, well, you can't sue us for what they did because we had racial diversity training. That was basically on them. So the Georgia state government basically struck back against them and saying, all right, well, look, we're trying to shore up voter security. We're trying to make everything more secure. So you're afraid of social pressure from the left. You're afraid of political pressure from the left. Well, you know what? We're going to play their game now. We're going to apply pressure the same way. So boom, your tax breaks get cut. Oh no, don't do it. Don't do it. And so I don't know. A lot of people are saying that like, well, since the left side of the aisle will apply political pressure, and don't get me wrong, positively sure, the right does the same thing, just not as often and not as publicly, because I think they don't see it as something that's good, and they shouldn't. The left kind of touts it like it's a good thing. So like at the MLB, oh, we're not going to hold our baseball championship in Georgia, and all the Democrats cheer it on, and Biden says, oh yeah, I think they were brave, and like, no, you don't want stuff to be, you don't want everything to be political. Not everything has to be political. I don't know. I think as we step further and further, if no one stops, like it's just going to keep going. If the right part of the spectrum starts smacking people back, like because we obviously need to fight in the culture in some way, shape, or form, then I don't know. It just seems like that's gonna be the end game, and it's gonna be real terrible. And you're making everything political. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a bad move on everyone's part, is what I believe. I wish we didn't live in a world where this was the case, but it's the case. So I don't know. And teaching kids they need to be less white or whatever. Like my kids are light skinned. Like they could possibly be mistaken for white. Maybe I don't want teachers teaching my kids critical race theory. We had Ron DeSantis in Florida say, we're not teaching critical race theory in these schools, man. And that's a good thing. Like I have like family members who are white. I have friends who are white. I don't want their children being taught that their kids are oppressing the other kids in class because of their skin color. Like that makes no sense. We were on such a good track when I was a kid. We are on such a good track. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was still like dumb shit, but it's like dumb shit kids do. And I was a dumb kid, because leftist theory is taught like from the time that you're small. And I was taught that Republicans are evil. I didn't know the parties, but they always painted, like my second grade teacher painted George Bush as this evil character who wanted to destroy the earth. Like, because he didn't follow the Al Gore environmental policies. Now, George Bush, I believe, was a terrible person. He invoked the Patriot Act. Like that right there is infringing on people's rights, like to spy on them. And they never repealed it back. Like, whatever freedom or whatever ground you secede to the government, you don't get it back. Good examples, like taxing your income. That was something that was implemented in like World War I. It's pretty recent. It was never supposed to be implemented. They were supposed to get their taxes off sales and like trades, but they needed money for funding for the war. And they said, oh, it'll be like a 3% tax and, we'll repeal it. The thing is, they use crisis to create mass consensus among the people. And now the people not making 100 grand, like I'm only making between 50 and 100, and I get taxed fucking like 26%. So like, what did that tell you? like any ground they can, they'll take. We jump to today, and it's the pandemic, right? First, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread, and everyone kind of agreed. Like, everyone's like, yeah, we're in a crisis. Like, we'll all help each other. Boom. All right, 2 weeks to slow the spread. Everyone stay home. Let's all stay back. Oh well, we kind of need a month. Crush the curve. Oh well, 2 months because we got to flatten the curve. It's not getting flat. We need 2 months. Well, 3 months. Well, maybe the summer. Oh, I don't think we'll be done till winter. And here we are a year later. Certain states are barely opening up. Texas was like cool. Like, they had their, like, everyone who's complaining about their mask mandate being lifted doesn't understand, or who doesn't live here. Everyone's kind of been doing their own thing. I wore a mask for the first 2 weeks, and then I was done. After that, I only wore a mask when people asked me to. And, like, it had to be the company who asked me to. No one, like, personally. I mean, even though if they asked me politely, I probably would have been like, yeah, for sure. Like, oh, could you put your mask on, please? Like, yeah, for sure. But if it was like a company, what's it called? Especially if I was at work, because I'm not trying to get fired from my job. Yeah, I'd put the mask on. But, like, no one ever came to me and was like, oh, you wear your mask. Wow, where's your mask at? No one ever did that to me. And everyone pretty much just did what they wanted to do. And then, he lifted the rule off that wasn't being really enforced anyways. So people who are complaining about it, like, we kind of really just did our own thing anyway. I wore it for the first 2 weeks and then was like, cool. That was like the first 2 weeks of March? And then it took till December when I got it. And I got the vid. And then it was over. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. And I was done. And then maybe I'm immune. I don't know. Any kind of power grab that they can make, they will make, and then they will do their best not to secede it back. Very rarely do you ever get your freedoms back that you give up. And I believe it was Thomas Jefferson who said, those who would give up their freedom for safety deserve neither and will lose both. That is very true. That's a very true statement. Anyway, back to the point. You can't make everything political, okay? And you should not secede your freedoms to the government. They will not give them back, okay? Next, border crisis. It's a crisis. I mean, they're at 700% capacity. Last time I checked, 100% is full. So they're at 700% capacity. Like, boom, boom, boom. It's a crisis, my guy. I don't know why they refuse to call it a crisis. I mean, maybe it's so they don't look bad, but it's pretty bad, man. And people are like, they're sending them in droves. I mean, kids are getting thrown over the border wall. Example. Like, if you think that these people are being treated humanely by the human traffickers, bro, you are out of your mind. They throw babies out of rafts. Like, a Texas Ranger found a baby in the Rio Grande, the Grand River. Poor, 6 months old, 6 months, tossed the baby out the raft. These human traffickers are not humanitarians. I don't know where you would get that idea, but they're not humanitarians, okay? Anyone who is really coming here for asylum can do so through the port of entry. You can come in and apply for asylum, but saying to people that you come here and we're just gonna let you in, and I know they've deported plenty of people. I know. I do understand that. But the messaging, right? The message, don't come right now. The thing that reminds me is of a TV show called How I Met Your Mother, where they talk about being on the hook of somebody, somebody you really would like and had a crush on, and they keep you on the hook. They're like, we just can't be together right now.
I'm really into you. I just can't be with you right now.
And they keep leading you on. That's what it is. They're just leading these people on. People are admitting, like, they did an interview and...
Before, I couldn't come, he says, but the new president gave us an opportunity.
Are you coming because Joe Biden? Yeah, I'm coming because Joe Biden. Basically, I wouldn't be coming if Trump was in office, because they're made to apply for asylum in Mexico. You're like, all right, stay here. You can apply from here, and then we got to check out your claim and stuff, but you can't come in, all right? And then they're telling people, well, you won't be rejected at the border if you have children. Like, they were going to bring babies. And then if the babies are too small or making too much noise, I guess, I don't know what happened, but they threw the baby over into the river to drown. I mean, And they do. They find babies' bodies, in the desert. Like that's a real thing that happens. And nobody talks about it because they want you to think that these human traffickers are humanitarians. Like 33% of women who make the journey are raped, sexually assaulted. I don't think that's a good thing. But hey, I mean, what do I know? I'm just a bean. I'm just a patriotic being. I'm just some guy. And if you don't think that the media has a bend in all this, like they have an agenda in all this, watch how they cover things. Oh, it's not a border at a crisis. Oh, it's the Jim Crow laws in Georgia. It is a crisis. No, it's not Jim Crow laws in Georgia. Like requiring an ID. That was the last thing. Woo, that was the last thing. Requiring an ID is racist. My boy. Everyone has a license or ID. Like you need it for basic stuff. Is buying alcohol racist? Is renting a car racist? That requires an ID. There's a bunch of stuff that requires ID. Is buying guns racist? There's a bunch of different stuff that requires ID that's not racist, okay? Let's just call that what it is. Propaganda. But here's the thing, is I think that you being drunk is less important than making decisions that affect how our country runs. It's honestly more important to show an ID at a voting booth than it is to show an ID for a bottle of vodka. Okay, but buying bottles of vodka isn't racist. I mean, unless you're willing to go there. Like, the alcohol industry is a racist institution. Okay, you can make that argument. I don't see where that leads you. I mean, it's silly. It's just silly. That's what it is. It's silly. If you think that they have they're all objective, they're not. They're really not. And they're showing it. This dude, I don't even know his name. I just know he's on the news and he's over here talking about, oh, fairness is overrated. But wait, let me explain. Because it all makes sense. I'll roll the clip.
I'm clear that fairness is overrated. Well, before you run off and tweet that headline, let me explain a bit. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in. That the sun sets in the west is a fact. Any contrary view does not deserve our time or attention. Providing an open platform for misinformation, for anyone to come say whatever they want, especially when issues of public health and safety are at stake, can be quite dangerous.
So, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, and that's a fact. And anything contrary to that, man, that shouldn't be listened to. That's not what we're debating. Say the sun rises and sets in the east, right? Okay, that's a fact, yes. But say the left says, well, you shouldn't wear sunscreen because sunscreen is all about, not getting darker, and that's racist. And then the right says, well, no, sunscreen's okay. Prolonged sun exposure has damaging effects to the skin, and that's an issue. That can be a very big problem. We should be careful about how much sun exposure we're getting. It does rise in the east and set in the west, but we need to be careful about how much exposure. And they're talking about, no, it's racist. You're just trying to be more white. You don't want melanin in your skin. Then they take the argument further and be like, oh, you're denying that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west? No, my boy, we know that. We're debating something totally different. And what you're trying to do, you're saying that I'm arguing something I'm not arguing and that I shouldn't be given validity. That's basically what it is. So he simplified it down to that analogy. But I mean, I'm trying to work within the framework of that analogy. And I think that's the point. I mean, I don't know. Again, this is just me spilling the beans. I'm out, y'all. Patriotic bean.